to start the proceedings. So is it a warm or a cold evening, morning?
Well, you know, here in Berkeley, we have it's really lovely weather. It's usually about 20 or 21 in the morning and the evening, and then it warms up to about 23 or 24 by midday.
Always so. That way, West Coast is a pleasure.
Yeah. Southern California is a little warmer, but here we get this fog in the evening, and so the fog has to burn off. So the sun will get a bit brighter through the course of our conversation.
Okay. So it's the best of both worlds.
It really is, because at night it's nice and cool when you sleep. You don't even need a fan. You don't need air conditioning. It's sort of natural air conditioning.
So there have been quite a few interesting streams in the agenda today. So I could just do some 10, 15 minutes of 2-3 of them. Very diverse and quite interesting.
Yeah. What kinds of things did people discuss?
So it was about civic life. It was about art. It was about royalty. So it was very interesting. And in fact, one of our the session which I did was obviously about cities. That was very interesting as well. We just concluded at around 8.
That's great.
I think we are having there are 2 sessions together. I have a feeling.
Yeah. Giselle, are you part of this session also?
Hello.
Hi, Giselle.
My session is with the session Argentina Advance in the Gender Perspective.
Yes, Giselle, that's at 9:20. So you've come in early.
Okay.
I request you to log in another 15 minutes. We have right now a fireside chat with Vishaan Chakrabarti, and Sangeeta will be moderating this session.
Perfect. I'm log out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's late night and it's my pleasure to introduce to you Sangeeta and Vishaan. Sangeeta has led Mahindra Lifespace till 30th June, and now she was the MD and CEO and was a member of the group executive board. Be nice to know what you're doing now, Sangeeta, but she's a speaker and panelist at various events over her career and has addressed the audience at multiple editions of the World Economic Forum at Davos. So thank you so much for moderating this session for us, Sangeeta. And I'd like to also welcome Vishaan Chakrabarti and hand over to you, Sangeeta, to introduce him. You have exactly time till 9:20. So request for a minute before you can close so that I can announce the awards also. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sangeeta.
Thank you, Priya. So welcome, Vishaan. it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce you, a man who wears many hats, but at the core is an urbanist and wants to see prosperity and joyousness. So from Columbia to Berkeley to having his own practice, I can go about introducing Vishaan forever. And
Please
you
don't.
know, he has been a thought leader as well as a practitioner in the field of urban ecosystems. And I know you have also made a shift recently to this part of US, from the colder to the slightly more, not slightly, much more pleasant part of US. And I wish you all success in this venture of yours as the Dean of the Environmental Design at Berkeley. And as well as what I love about you is your practitioner hat, your practice of urbanism, your own self-practice. That is what makes a person when thinking gets to doing. So welcome once again. And I realized doing a little bit of research, we were born in the same decade, in the same city of the world.
Ah.
A city called Calcutta. So, you know, the world is a small place. I was very happy to see, okay, another one from Calcutta amidst us. So, so now let me ask you, you know, we met in 2000, we met a couple of years back in our property called Confluence, which is also a property on urbanism, on urban thinking and practice. How has the world changed, Vishaan, between the time you and I met physically, and we were in the same time zone? I did not have to say good.
Sangeeta, I think I've lost you a little bit.
Yes,
We lost you a bit, Sangeeta.
Okay. How has, you know, over our last physical meeting, we met in Delhi a couple of years back on a similar subject. The environment was different. We didn't have to straddle across time zones because you had made the effort to come to the time zone of India. So how has the world changed around us? Has the world changed? If it has changed, how has it changed from the lens of an urban thinker who always espouses urbanism and urban is the way to go? How has it changed?
Well, you know, it's changed tremendously. First, thank you for inviting me to speak. It's lovely to see you again. It's lovely to be here. And I know your community is a very, very thriving intellectual community, and so I'm honored to participate with it. The world has obviously changed a great deal, and you know, the clear one is the pandemic and all that has changed from it, and which is why we're speaking so much this way, virtually from our homes and so forth. And you know, I've done a lot of research actually already on the impact of pandemics on our cities historically. And our cities historically have changed in response to pandemics. Cholera, tuberculosis, the bubonic plague, they all changed urban infrastructure, urban health codes in terms of light and air. So there is this kind of yin and yang between global disease and the way our built environment gets made. I think, though, that the major difference between this pandemic and everything that has happened in the past is the technology. The fact that, you know, platforms like Zoom have made it possible for at least a group of us, not everyone, but a group of us to continue our work, continue to collaborate. I'm working with my office in New York, and we're drawing on the screen and doing all of these things while I'm also, you know, beginning to run a major college here at Berkeley. And that's all possible because of this kind of flattening of geography that the technology has allowed. At the same time, I think there's another major thing that's changed, and I don't know if this is as present in India as it is in the United States, but the murder of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement has, I think, created a long overdue conversation about the inequities that exist in our culture around race. And you see the two are interconnected because, again, in the US circumstance, we've seen a disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on communities of color, on what we call essential workers, the people who are still having to work in person. And many of those people are communities of color, are from disadvantaged communities. And so they have higher sickness rates, higher death rates. And so there is this confluence of these two crises, of a global health crisis and a racial crisis, that will, I think, change how we think about cities and communities, at least probably for the rest of my career. And we have a lot of work to do.
That's very interesting, Vishan, while you were speaking about the whole aspect of diversity, the word which comes to my mind is disparity. Because, and it is not very different here, maybe the parameters may be different, but the outcome is the same. We have in the last few months seen the impact of this particular pandemic on the different economic strata of our society. I'm sure you would have followed how the migrant workers have
Yes.
actually been desperate to go back home. They've walked miles and miles without food, without footwear. In fact, there's a telling story I heard from one of my friends the other day. She's heavily into this kind of work where they try to help the migrant labor. And she was talking to me. She said, we are in one particular place, we were trying to give them food and they said, give me footwear because I have been walking barefoot over miles. My feet are breaking. I will do food later. Give me footwear. So that's the telling aspect of such situations and circumstances. And Vishan, that is why when I went through your book, Country of Cities, which espouses the cause of urban, and urban being joyous, prosperous, and economically resilient, what do you think this current pandemic has done to this rural-urban shift, the uncertainty of it?
Well, I'll tell you, I was a city official for Mayor Bloomberg right after 9/11. I was in charge of the recovery for Manhattan, along with many others. And, at that period, many people felt that we would abandon our cities. And there's a similar sensibility right now because cities mean congestion and density and mass transit and things that feel scary in the middle of a pandemic. But cities are our main economic engine around the world. They will continue to be. Yes, there'll be a certain amount. So I think the best way to think about your question, Sangeeta, is to say, let's take the hypothetical that a vaccine is invented tomorrow, right? I don't think the majority of all work will continue to happen remotely, because just as it's clear to us that remote work, this kind of communication works for some things, it's also very clear that the technology isn't really there and that there's an enormous opportunity cost. And I don't mean for business, certainly, but also for culture, right? Like we're missing our theaters, we're missing our museums, we're missing just the serendipity of daily life. And in that, there's an opportunity cost. We are losing a lot of social kind of value creation that happens when we get to interact in person. And the recognition of that will drive us back to our cities. And so I'm absolutely sure cities will recover from this. Cities are already recovering in their own odd way. But here's the issue. I mean, I talk about this in our book. You and I spoke about this the other day, and America and India have this in common. Our cities are not healthy. Our cities have a massive infrastructure deficit. There's all of the infrastructure in our cities is failing, and India is still a relatively poor country to the United States, and yet both countries have wildly substandard urban infrastructure compared to both Europe and East Asia. We have huge housing problems. You were just talking about the migrant workers.
Mm-hmm.
We have, I'm now in California, which has a constant homeless crisis, and when we talk about public health, we have to remember that housing and health are inextricably tied. A person, a family cannot be healthy if they either don't have housing or are under constant housing stress. And so the problem is, it's very clear to me now that what this pandemic has exposed are all the vulnerabilities in our societies where we've underinvested. And so, whether you're looking at India or Brazil or the United States, the three countries, if you look today at the three countries with the highest case rates and the highest death rates from COVID, it's India, Brazil, and the United States. And they all share certain qualities of being somewhat laissez-faire, not putting proper investment into their people, into their infrastructure. The United States has much less of an excuse because we're much wealthier than Brazil or India per capita, and yet this is the problem. I think our cities can recover and our cities can do very well, but we have to have a new paradigm in terms of how we think about and invest in our cities. And the last thing I would just say about that is that's not a zero-sum game with our rural areas. There's this way, like our economy can be structured such that our rural areas and our cities can both prosper and prosper from each other, right? If we kind of design our systems the right way and make the right investments.
Interesting, and I totally agree with you, because I was also going through a research where it's not that maybe you and I have the good fortune of working from home, doing these kind of things, because of a large part of our work is in the realm of the mind, but there is matter also. So around 25% have to go to work without fail, and the other 25 have to go, maybe if not full time but part time. Now, so that means our cities have to be prepared to face that situation, the workspaces. Yes. So I am very interested to know, Vishaan is an academic, Vishaan is a consultant and practitioner. What do you see? How do workspaces, living spaces, and recreation spaces, because man and woman and people would like to recreate, would like to, like you said, go to the theater or go to some social venue. How do you see that panning out and integrating itself in this current normal?
Well, it's interesting. Some of it's happening organically. I was in New York City 2 weeks ago, and I noticed there was a small coffee shop, and they had placed chairs 6 feet apart on a sidewalk, and a man was playing the clarinet, and they had somehow figured out how to do a little outdoor concert, everyone separated. In one of the parks that I helped design in the Brooklyn waterfront, a man goes out every morning and puts down these 6-foot diameter hula hoops so that people can recreate at 6 feet apart outside. But I think the much more serious aspect of your question is about the essential workers and getting, especially mass transportation, running in a safe way. Because what's happening here is that we have a dual crisis with this, in that we need operating mass transit because we can't have everyone driving into the city in their own car. There isn't the room. But the mass transit systems have all faced massive budget declines because obviously their revenues have dropped drastically. So they're running fewer buses, fewer trains, which means more congestion, right? Which is problematic. There's also the expense of cleaning them much more often. And so our systems are coming under tremendous strain, which is why the essential workers are especially vulnerable to this disease. What I worry about is it's exactly what you said, that there's a class of us who don't experience any of this, who can wake up every morning, have our cup of coffee or cup of tea, start working like this, and we don't experience any of those problems. And we have to have an empathy for the people that we don't, fully understand in terms of what they're experiencing and how we need to help invest in their livelihoods and their health.
Vishan, I know this is a conversation which we could actually carry on for a longer time, and I will offline surely get, but you know how this conversation, this whole conference is very tight-fisted, and I have Priya glaring at me.
Yes.
What I just wanted to conclude was, what you're saying is, it's a complex, but yes, your confidence in the city being the core of a country, the city being the economic and the social engine, is still much alive and kicking. It is how do we do public-private participation? How do we get our transportation in place? How we design the work and life spaces so that we continue? And I look forward to your thoughts and your action. And we will be in touch. Thank you so much, Vishan.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yes, Priya, over to you.
Vishan, on behalf of the Women Economic Forum, we'd like to give you a token of our appreciation as the iconic leader creating a better world for all award. So the award will be sent to you virtually through an email, and much deserved. Thank you so much for all your efforts, and wishing you all the best. Don't have an audience, but definitely would like to give you a big hand. Take care.
That's how the world is today. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Lovely to see you both.
Thank you. Bye.
We will be in touch.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So hi, Carolina. I think the other ladies would be joining us soon. You could put on your camera. Yes, Cynthia is connecting. You need to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I will start.
Wait for everybody to join, please. If you we have 4 speakers.
Yes.
I'd like to introduce you all before you can start. So we've got Cynthia who's joined us. And
sure.
We'll wait for Giselle and Dr. Anlo. I hope I'm pronouncing your names right.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, Cynthia. Thank you so much. What time is it in Argentina?
It's near 1 p.m.
Okay, so it's 9:23 in India. We've had a long day. We started late because we wanted to make sure all of you could come in. Would you know the other 2 speakers? Are you aware of them?
Yes, Giselle is having problem now with internet, and Lolina, I guess she is she's trying to get in.
Okay, so I just like to start the session so that we don't lose out on the time that you have, since we have a limited time of 30 minutes, and I'd request you to speak for 7 minutes each. The topic that's been chosen by all of you to speak on is in Argentina, the advances in the gender perspective. I'd like you to introduce yourself. As you said, Carolina, you'd like to introduce yourself. And then I just limit yourself to 7 minutes. I'm going to be timing you because we want everybody to bring in their perspective. And I need 1 minute at the end of this session because we have a little award for each one of you. So I'll request Carolina to start.
If you agree, what about if Cynthia starts? Because sure. I'm the sport chapter, so I would want to be the last one. Okay, because sure. I haven't done yet all the things.
Priya,
Lina is saying that
she can't end session. Okay. She says that she's like blocked to enter the session as a speaker. Maybe if someone can help her, or maybe we can join a link.
So, Cynthia, if you start, I will get somebody to reach out to Lina. Has she joined as an attendee?
Yes.
As an speaker, yes.
Okay. I'll get her on the call.
She's blocked.
Sure. Please start.
Okay, well, I start first. Well, my name is Cynthia González Oviedo. I am a psychologist, but I worked in marketing for 14 years. And I work especially in the industry of fashion and cosmetics. I work until 2011 in that industry, and then I became a mom. When I became a mom, the laboral market expulsed me, and I found myself without a job and out of market. So I started working as a psychologist in private psychotherapy, and then I started to attend women in victims of gender violence. So I started studying gender, and in 2017 I founded my company, which is Bridge the Gap, and we help organizations to understand that they need to work professionally in gender equality, that this is not a matter of something that is not a matter of them, but that organizations really have to focus on this, not only because of social justice, but also because it is a business issue. And today I want to talk especially about symbolic violence. What is symbolic violence? Symbolic violence is about the television, the ad industry, the brands, all that we see in these big magazines that represent images of women in a stereotypical way, in a reproducing patterns that we have to be pretty, that we have to be thin, that we have to be white, that we have to be blonde to be considered privileged. And I started working at first in 2017 because some companies, big companies, had trouble in the social media with some advertisement. The people, especially teenagers, millennials, centennials, especially women, were angry because some campaigns, advertisement campaigns, and these produced that publicists and brands and marketers started to think, oh, we have to understand what we're doing because we don't think we are doing anything wrong. And this is one of the main issues for me. The people, the marketers, the ad industry is one of the biggest reproducers of this violence against women, but we don't consider that we are doing violence. We consider violence is only physical violence. And we don't think that we are doing something to discriminate women. So at first, a company called me and said, Cynthia, can you help us? Because we launched a product and the people were very angry because we were having a woman washing dishes in the advertisement. But we were showing a very thin women, and they say that we are promoting issues with health and not showing all types of bodies for women. So we started working in this very timidly, very with very few money. They didn't want to pay. And now, 3 years later, we have an international certification for advertisement ads and agencies that they can form themselves and capacitate and became agencies free of this kind of violence against women. They want to learn and they can get a certificate to eradicate the violence in this kind of advertisements and this kind of magazines and brands. So just this week, we have in Argentina a gender and women ministry, and they signed an alliance with different organizations to start to stop this this advertisement from the government. It's a public policy now. So the government won't allow anymore some of these advertisements and branding issues. Like, for example, in UK, there is a law that prohibits now the violence, the symbolic violence against women. This, just 3 days ago, there was a very important magazine here in Argentina, and they showed Máxima Zorreguieta, the Netherlands queen. You know Máxima? She's Argentinian and she's the queen of Netherlands. And her daughter, she's Nothing, and was in the cover of this magazine. She's only 16 years old. And the cover was about she's plus size, and the news was that she was fat. And it was a huge, huge scandal here in Argentina. I think that the Crown, the Netherlands Crown, called this magazine. A lot of journalists, people in social media, they had to apologize. Today there was an official apology from this advertisement. I wrote a column because Argentina is the top leader country in food pathologies in girls. We have anorexic and bulimic. We are top leaders in the world. And we encourage and reproduce these messages to our girls. So now this will become a public policy. And of course, I have to deal with creatives, with CMOs, with CEOs that they say, what is wrong with this? This is nothing wrong. This is not violence. They have to learn that this is not wrong. And generally they learn through a scandal. Just when they have a scandal, then they understand that this is a reputational issue also for brands, and they cannot accept this kind of issues anymore. So they have to capacitate, they have to do some workshops. We, for example, deliver some tools to filter these communications, and so that they can work and avoid stereotypes. And so mainly the main message I want to show you today is that they have to learn that this is violence. Yes. Although we don't want to discriminate, we don't consider ourselves bad people, but we do it anyway.
No, you're right, Cynthia. Thank you so much for sharing your work and your views. It's interesting to hear what you said back home in India for us. And I think it's a varied viewpoint, but I think we all women believe in what you've said, and thank you for your efforts. I'd like to invite Giselle now. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. And sorry, you came in early and now. So Giselle, if I can request you to introduce yourself, and we have a time limit. We're waiting for Dr. Anlo to join us. But till she
ahí está entrando.
Yes, she's joined us. Great, brilliant.
Perfecto.
So you have 8 minutes to speak.
Bien, perfecto.
Joining us. So the screen is all yours, please.
Bien, perfecto. Bueno, buenas tardes a todos, buenas noches allá en India. Voy a hacer mi presentación en español y Carolina muy amablemente después va a hacer un mini resumen. Bueno, este año empezó siendo un año súper importante para nosotros porque estamos a 25 años de la Declaración de Beijing, de la plataforma de Beijing, que ha este documento tan ambicioso en lo que tiene que ver con empoderamiento de mujeres y de niñas, y nuestro país ha avanzado mucho en este sentido, en este camino. Se han dictado numerosas normas que tienden a proteger a las mujeres, que tienden a la equidad de género. Por mencionar algunas, tenemos ley de identidad de género, ley de matrimonio igualitario, ley de paridad en ámbitos de representación legislativa, la ley Micaela, tenemos Ministerio de la Mujer. Por primera vez nuestro país tiene Ministerio de la Mujer. Esto es súper importante, y es súper importante porque ha marcado un antes y un después. Este ministerio, a cargo de la doctora Elizabeth Gómez Alcorta, ha nacido de las bases, ha nacido de la lucha de las mujeres en las calles, ha nacido de la lucha de las mujeres reclamando por sus derechos, reclamando por los femicidios. Entonces el Estado ha recogido esta demanda social esta demanda de las mujeres y lo ha transformado en una política pública otorgándole la prioridad que merece. Bueno, y con respecto a las mujeres en ámbitos de decisión política, en espacios de decisión política, tenemos varios ministerios a cargo de mujeres, queda mucho camino por recorrer, no son muchos ministerios a cargo de mujeres, pero sí podemos mencionar seguridad, podemos mencionar vivienda y hábitat, por supuesto el Ministerio de la Mujer, podemos mencionar el Ministerio de Justicia, y hay muchas funcionarias de alto rango que hoy ocupan espacios de decisión política. Tenemos el Instituto de Servicios Sociales para Jubilados y Pensionados, tenemos ANSES, tenemos el Fisco Nacional también a cargo de una mujer, y tenemos, como mencioné anteriormente, la Ley de Paridad en ámbitos de representación legislativa. Esta ley es muy importante porque nos va a permitir tener las dos cámaras del Congreso compuestas por igual cantidad de hombres y de mujeres. Se aplicó por primera vez en el 2019, cuando se renovó la primera mitad de la Cámara de Diputados, y se aplicará nuevamente el año que viene, cuando se renueve la otra mitad de la Cámara de Diputados. También tengo que mencionar que me parece que es muy importante en nuestro país, hemos tenido una mujer presidenta 2 veces, actualmente es vicepresidenta, hemos tenido en la gestión anterior una mujer vicepresidenta también. Entonces vemos cómo de a poco nuestro país tiene mujeres que van llegando a diversos espacios de decisión política. La ley Micaela también es una ley que tenemos que mencionar, que es muy importante. Esta ley se llama Micaela en honor a Micaela García, una chica argentina, una joven entrerriana que fue asesinada en manos de un hombre que tenía antecedentes penales, y que obliga a todos los poderes del Estado, Poder Ejecutivo, Poder Legislativo y Poder Judicial, a capacitarse en violencia de género. Cualquiera sea su rango, todos los integrantes de estos 3 poderes van a tener que capacitarse en violencia de género por ley Micaela. Para ser breve y corta, no quitarle tiempo a las demás speakers, quiero mencionar 3 normas que se están trabajando ahora. Una es la ley de teletrabajo, que tiene ya sanción por Cámara de Diputados. La pandemia reveló la necesidad de tener una regulación del teletrabajo, por más que ya existía el trabajo remoto en nuestro país, y lo novedoso de esta norma es que tiene en cuenta la carga que genera las tareas de cuidado. Las tareas de cuidado históricamente han estado a cargo de mujeres. Hay un estudio en nuestro país del 2014 que nos mostraba que de las 24 horas al día, 6 horas las ocupaban las mujeres en las tareas de cuidado y 2 los hombres. La pandemia reveló que las mujeres somos quienes nos hacemos cargo mayormente de las tareas de cuidado en el hogar. Y esta ley tiene en cuenta, para regular el trabajo remoto, la carga que genera las tareas de cuidado. Otra norma que está por ser adherida por nuestro país es el convenio OIT 190, esta norma que regula relaciones laborales y otorga un montón de herramientas para evitar violencia y acoso laboral, está pronta a ser adherida por nuestro país. Y por último quiero mencionar algo muy importante, que en este contexto de pandemia, el 3 de julio pasado, nuestro presidente, junto con la ministra de la Mujer, presentaron el Plan Nacional contra la Violencia de Género, este Plan Nacional 2020-2022, que no solo se dirige a las mujeres, sino también a las minorías, como es el colectivo LGTBQ+, que pone foco en violencias extremas, como son los femicidios, los travesticidios, pone foco en la independencia económica de la mujer, y pone foco hacia un abordaje cultural y estructural de la problemática, y lo que pretende es que esta problemática tenga un abordaje integral y transversal en distintos sectores de la sociedad. Bueno, eso para finalizar. Caro, si querés hacer un resumen.
Yes, I'm going to try summarize, because you said many important things. First of all, Argentina had made great strides in equity, various laws on gender equality that we can mention, integral protection law to prevent, to pass and eradicate violence against women in areas where they develop their activities, gender identity law, equal marriage law, law of creation of the National Program for Comprehensive Sex Education, the law of gender parity in areas of political representation. It allows us to have the same number of men and women in both houses of Congress. The creation of Ministry of Women, Genders and Diversity last December the 10th. Ley Micaela, as Giselle said, it obliges all people who work in the three branches of the state, executive, legislative, judge, whatever their level or hierarchy, to receive training on issues of gender and violence against women. Two legislative aspects that are being worked on this context of pandemic. Telework law. This law regulates telework, focusing on the distribution of care tasks. And the Agreement 190 ILO, this adopted agreement focuses on regulation to eradicate all types of violence and harassment within the framework of an employment relationship. Last 3rd of July, the President announced the National Plan Against Violence, 2020-2022. This plan estimates that gender violence must be addressed comprehensively, working transversally from different areas of society. It not only covers women, but also the LGBTI+ population, prioritizing three fundamental issues: extreme violence, the economic autonomy of the victim, and the cultural and structural dimension of the problem. I guess I tried to say all the main aim.
Thank you, Caroline. We are running short of time, and Dr. Lena, I would like to introduce Giselle. I don't know if she did introduce herself. She's a lawyer, World Compliance Association of Argentina. And you guys are really amazing, but we have very, very limited time of 7 minutes, Doctor. Request you to limit your whatever you'd like to explain to us, and Carolina to be brief, because at the end of this, I'd like to just take 60 seconds to also give you your small award from the Women Economic Forum. So over to you, Doctor.
Buenas tardes, buenos días, buenas noches para todos y para todas y todos los que nos están escuchando esta noche para India, en este mediodía para Argentina. Gracias a Bangalore, al WEF Bangalore por habernos convocado, y gracias a Lashmi por su organización y permitirnos a Argentina tener un panel donde pudimos contar, como ya estuve escuchando a mis colegas que me precedieron, cuáles son nuestras luchas y nuestros grandes avances desde nuestro país, a pesar de que, como bien dijo Giselle, todavía nos queda camino por recorrer. Solo referenciar en materia de luchas de nuestro país, ya desde el año 91 que Argentina tiene una ley de cupo, que hoy ya tenemos ley de equidad, pero desde el año 91 las cámaras legislativas, tanto diputados como senadores, tenían que cumplir con un 30% de presencia femenina. Y digo pionera porque esta ley fue la primera ley que salió en este sentido en Latinoamérica. Luego, todos los países latinoamericanos, hoy puedo decir que prácticamente todos, ya tienen una ley de cupo, pero nosotros pudimos dar este paso en el año 91. Y todas las luchas que damos desde Argentina es a través generalmente de los colectivos feministas, las luchas que se dan en la calle, que luego van logrando grandes conquistas, como esto que referenció Giselle, de tener hoy un Ministerio de la Mujer, Diversidad y Géneros nacional. Incluso ya también tenemos ministerios de la mujer a nivel provincial. En mi carácter de directora del WEF Argentina 2020, queremos contarles y participarlos, invitarlos para hacerles saber todo lo que estamos realizando en este año, desde el momento que se desató la pandemia global que nos afecta a todos, producto del COVID-19. Desde el año pasado, casi para final de año, empezamos a organizar el WEF Argentina 2020 con la idea de realizarlo en octubre de este año. Incluso a principio de este año, en marzo, pudimos participar del WEF Global en Egipto, una delegación de casi 20 mujeres argentinas, también mujeres y hombres participamos, y cuando llegamos se había desatado la crisis global producto del COVID-19. Entonces nos pusimos a pensar cómo íbamos a llevar adelante esta nueva etapa del WEF. Bueno, y rápidamente, para el mes de mayo de este año, empezamos a hacer un ciclo de entrevistas virtuales, que lo hacemos todos los miércoles a las 19 horas de Argentina, pero sale por nuestras redes, por YouTube y por Facebook Live WEF Argentina. Por eso es que invitamos a aquellos que por un tema horario no puedan escucharlo, lo pueden luego ver desde las redes. Y empezamos a trabajar en particular los temas que surgieron con la pandemia, donde vimos que las grandes desigualdades se pusieron de manifiesto, donde las tareas de cuidado que siempre estuvieron a cargo de las mujeres quedaron en manifiesto, donde las mujeres están en la primera línea de lucha contra el COVID, como son las enfermeras, las médicas, las maestras. Entonces empezamos a trabajar diferentes temas, como por ejemplo, justamente crisis sanitaria, política, liderazgo político, género y economía, presupuestos con perspectiva de género, e incluso hemos sacado 2 productos nuevos, que es uno, Generación Digital, que va a ir hacia las chicas más jóvenes, hacia los millennials y los centennials, y también un capítulo de deportes que Carolina luego va a explicar a continuación. Es decir, que tratamos de abordar el tema de la equidad, la inclusión y la diversidad de diferentes ángulos, y esa es la idea de estos ciclos de entrevistas. Por eso, nuevamente, convocarlos a todos. Hemos tenido presencia de funcionarias públicas, de personas expertas en liderazgos, contamos con la presencia de Rebeca Grispan, que es la secretaria iberoamericana, y seguiremos adelante además con empresarias y emprendedoras. Por último, decirles que es nuestra idea poder realizar nuestro WEF Argentina 2020 en el mes de diciembre, a inicios del mes de diciembre, y por supuesto queremos contar con la participación de todo India, de este país maravilloso, y por supuesto de países europeos, de países latinoamericanos, de países americanos. Invitamos a todos y vamos a ser los partícipes de ello. Muchas gracias, buenas tardes, buenos días, buenas noches.
Okay, just to summarize, Lina Anlo at the beginning was talking about the fundamental legislative steps that our country has taken in terms of equal rights for women. I want to highlight this, equity and diversity. And since the end of last year, they have been preparing WEF 2020, that will be at the end of this year. At the beginning of this year, in March, we participated in Egypt, WEF, with an Argentinian delegation, about 20 important women. And then, due to all we know about the COVID, it was unleashed, and with it, the isolation measures where the inequalities, and in particular, the affection to women have become evident, in which practically all care tasks have fallen. So for this reason, and to give the possibility to all these problems, in the month of May, they began to carry out cycle of virtual talks. They happen on Wednesday at 7 p.m. our time. We invite all of you to share it. It is in the website, it is in YouTube and Facebook of Argentina WEF. So with this one, economy and gender, political representation, female leadership, the impact of COVID, crisis on women, the private sector, many items I covered. They had people like Dr. Harbin Arora in the virtual talks. They also have Anthony Gutierrez, that is director of Ideogramma. National officials such as Minister of Women of the province of Buenos Aires, Estela Díaz, and the Cordoba Minister of Women, international personalities such as Rebecca, and I know I have to be short. Lastly, what she wants is to take advantage of this space to invite all of you to join us in our website and the WEF that will be happen in December, God wants. Okay, my turn.
Thank you.
I will be short.
We are out of time.
Okay, just to be brief, I will talk everything in English. I wanted to share it also in Spanish because we have many women around Latin America. But here in Argentina, we launched the sports chapter in Argentina, but we invite all of you to be part of it because all of you are an essential, fundamental, necessary player in this game. That is to level the field. As I said in Spanish, nivelar la cancha. We started, but we need all of you. I will invite you to be part of a sport chapter in Argentina, which aim, just to be brief, is to empower, to maximize, to position sports and every woman that work in the industry. So thank you very much all, and sorry for the time.
No, thank you so much, ladies. You're extremely charged and you've given me a lot of energy. And definitely all of us from Bangalore would be there on your website. And if we're not able to come down for your WEF, love to be virtually with you the way we've been tonight. And for all the effort that each one of you is putting in to bring about a change in your country, we're very, I think we would like to thank you for your work. And from the Women Economic Forum, we'd like to give you an award, which is the Iconic Women Creating a Better World All Award. So congratulations to each one of you for getting this award, which is much deserved for the work you've done. And there would have been a big applause if this was in the conference room, but there's a big applause from my side. And wish you all the very best. Thank you so much and have a great day. And see you soon at the WEF Argentina.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will wait for you.
Yes.
And pass the ball.
La que te saco la foto. Ahí.
Dale.
Ahí va. Ahí está.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.